welcome everybody to the very first ZKsync proposal review call, or proposal party or proposal mixer. The name is still up in the air, open for suggestions there. Today will be, we have actually quite a full agenda for this call. Just to briefly mention, in the chat, I can also reshare these links again. The call agenda in thread is the first link, and then the second link is just kind of like a general source of truth that describes this call, and the kind of elements that make up the call, and cadence, etc., all that fun stuff. So that's also on the forum under delegate resources if you ever need to reference that. Today, we're going to start, and generally with these calls, the way these will be prioritized will be proposals that are on chain and then proposals that are on the forum. So that's exactly how we're going to start it today. These calls will be recorded, just as the delegate calls are, and posted on the YouTube channel, the ZK Nation YouTube channel. And of course, in this thread, I'll also be posting the call recording and any notes and links, etc., just as I do for the standing delegate calls as well. So very similar process, just different focus for the call, which is proposal review. So just to really jump into it, I will invite Alicia, actually, if you want to start with the protocol upgrade update and the GAP 2 update, that would be great.
Sure. So just quickly, ZIP 4 is the resubmission of ZIP 2, which needed to be resubmitted because we discovered after ZIP 1 that there was a kind of a tooling quirk that was resolved in ZIP 3, which was successfully executed, I think last week. And so now ZIP 4 is reducing the execution delay on ZK chains from 21 hours to 3 hours. I have really high confidence in the Security Council's ability to respond to any issue within that 3-hour time frame. And on the forum, in that ZIP 2 forum post, and then also on the Security Council forum post, you'll just see discussions about the emergency response kind of demo that we ran and things like that. And so, but it's a really straightforward proposal itself in terms of an upgrade. I wonder if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, we can move on.
Any questions for Alicia on ZIP 4?
Cool.
Great.
Okay, and then GAP 2 is the adoption of the SEAL Safe Harbor Agreement, which we discussed also in December, I think, last year. So we've been working with Skylock and Meta Labs, who currently manage the bug bounty for ZKsync error, to adopt the Safe Harbor Agreement. And so it will be adopted by governance. It's a really cool use of a GAP proposal. So the approval will be registered on chain, which is great. And then basically it means that with an exploit, any white hat who attempts to recover funds may be eligible for a bounty of a max of, I think it's 1 million, or might be 1.1, or 10%, whatever, like the max being 1 million, of funds for the recovery. And the reason that this is important is because that without an agreement like Safe Harbor in place, it's really difficult from a legal position for any white hats to intervene with any ongoing exploits. And so you might see Safe Harbor, like Samsung has tweeted about it, obviously, and then there are a bunch of other DAOs who are also in the process of adopting it. So it's, really also straightforward. Any questions about Safe Harbor?
Great. Thank you, Alicia. And again, so ZIP 4 voting starts tomorrow. And for GAP 2 Safe Harbor, the voting window opens in 2 days. now I will pass the mic over to Rafa, who will say a few words about Gap 1 that is currently open and live for voting. I think Rafa already shared the link in the chat. So do please take a look at that. Already as well. But Rafa, you wanna take it away?
Yeah, so I think this to me is directly related. So for the folks who were in Thailand and were able to participate in the delegate workshop, which by the way, we'll be having another one at ETH Denver. This was in direct response to the feedback about the need for additional clarity in terms of the strategy alignment across the entire community, and informed by Alex's technical roadmap that was published recently. That was published shortly before this one on the forum. It was kind of cool to go through this process. It was the first gap, and I think it set a fun tone for how gaps could be used. Specifically in this, we adopted a new term called endorsement. So this is slightly different from ratification, which is backwards looking and has some legal baggage. But this is just like a formal endorsement of a perspective. Now, this is really important because as we work to set the standard for on-chain governance, we want to be very clear about what is on-chain enforceable versus what is not. And this, for example, is we're endorsing a strategy, but this isn't like enforced on-chain. There is no smart contract or agent that verifies if this if a proposal is like quote unquote within strategy or not. So shout out to Gabe Shapiro who helped focus the language here, and start with a cool first piece of clarity for strategy. I think that is aspirationally we should really look to kind of refresh this every 6 to 12 months, and also potentially refine it. If we have an increased clarity in terms of what the strategy looks like, we shouldn't be afraid to kind of endorsing additional strategies that may come up. Maybe a strategy focused on ZK chains, maybe a strategy focused on apps. So anything, something to think about.
Great. Any questions for Rafa? Thanks, Rafa. Again, voting is open.
And a shout out to Polar for helping post it. And I don't think they're on the call, but thank you.
Yes, great. Okay, so moving on. I will now invite, I believe it's Christoph, up to the stage to discuss the Aave airdrop claim extension request proposal that's also on chain right now.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. So as the proposal explains, we had some technical delays getting Aave live on ZKsync, and due to that and the complexity of us claiming the airdrop tokens, because we had the Aave collector contract address as the airdrop address, and that means any actions from that wallet, any transactions made by that wallet have to go through the full governance process, which is time consuming, has lots of review steps and so on. We didn't manage to claim the airdrop in time. So this proposal, essentially those tokens allocated to us for the airdrop were not minted. So this isn't increasing supply or anything. And this proposal is just to mint those unminted tokens and deliver them to Aave. I think that's kind of the background of it. I think another important point to emphasize is that these tokens aren't going to service providers or not being used for pay for expenses or anything like that at all. All of these tokens will be used for incentives on ZKsync on the Aave instance on ZKsync. So I think that's kind of the summary of it, but happy to take any questions or address anything.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Christoph, for that introduction or that overview here. I know there was quite a bit of discussion on the forum post regarding this proposal. I don't know if anybody had any comments or questions they wanted to share here on the call for Christoph. Yeah, Tempe Techie, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe the main question, which I think Tecker also posted, is what's the opinion of Matter Labs here?
Well, I think that I don't know if Matter Labs is the right person to have the right org to have an opinion here, although I see Omar raising their hand. Like the ZKsync Association, so where the governance team sits, like we're the issuer of the token and we're the ones who executed the airdrop. From our perspective, and specifically, I'll speak for myself here and the governance team. Like, I don't think this is. I don't see any issues with this. The reason why I don't see any issues with this is because the tokens were already allocated to Aave, so it's really like just a change in terms of how the claim process goes. I know there were some concerns raised with what if other people want to do in extension to the airdrop? What about other people who weren't able to claim the token? I mean, I think those are fair discussions. Like, I think it's like fair to talk about if someone else like wants to do something to adjust something. I mean, I acknowledge it. I think in a perfect situation, you know, we would avoid this type of change. But, you know, personally acknowledging the fact that we want all the projects that had opportunity to get ZK to be, you know, to be able to use that to grow the ecosystem, then yeah, I think that from the governance team perspective and ZKsync Association, this is not like anything special, or it's not problematic.
Yeah, just one additional comment that this is still true to the initial intent of the airdrop as well, which was to distribute it to teams and protocols that would potentially have a high impact in terms of the growth of ZKsync, because they would essentially utilize it to incentivize users and growth, and that's still the overall intent of this proposal too.
Yeah, I would be really concerned if there was something like, oh, we want more than the airdrop allocated, or we're gonna use it for, I don't know, getting a yacht at ETH Denver. You know, like, I think that I'd be quite concerned about that. But there doesn't seem to be any misalignment with the original intent and the original intent of the Aave DAO as well. So it seemed okay. But I hope that answers your questions.
Great.
Yeah, you did.
Thumbs up. Awesome. Any other questions regarding this proposal? And yeah, thanks for raising. Yeah, it's a good clarification to make who the token is to. Okay, then if there are no questions, oh, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. Just to vocalize my question in the chat, but Christoph, when did Aave first initiate governance actions to implement the necessary adjustments needed to claim these tokens?
I will have to get back to you on the specific dates. The Aave collector contract on ZKsync needed that. I think I've got this all right, but I can clarify and get technical people to confirm. But we needed to have Aave deployed on ZKsync in order to have that collector contract there. There were some technical issues, and there's a post in the Aave forums, I believe, or yeah, Rafa's nodding, which meant it had to be redeployed essentially, and that wasn't deployed until the end of September last year. So that was kind of a big part of the delay, and then the actual governance process, I'm not sure, but obviously that involves writing the code, having it reviewed by various service providers to the DAO, and so on. So exactly at what point that started, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, that's great. My only reservation with this would just be if there hadn't been sufficient action taken by RV in time, and this was more, oh, whoops, we realized late, let's take rectifying action. But I think if you guys have clearly been trying to move towards getting this rectified with sufficient time, it feels very reasonable. Yeah, Christoph, I can post my comment on the forum, and then in your own time, you can just follow up there.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Great. Great. Thanks for clarifying there. So if there's no other questions or comments regarding the Aave proposal that's on Onchain or any of the other on-chain proposals, we can move on to the discussions on the forum. We'll start with, I mean, unless anybody has a burning preference, I'll just go in order of what's on the screen here. So staking for ZKsync. Would Raf like to join the stage,
Sure
please?
Thanks, Sylvia.
Also, you have something to present, if I understand.
Oh yeah,
I can stop presenting.
great. I have some slides if that's helpful, but I can just start by giving some context before I open the slides. So as some of you have seen, because you commented, and some of you may have seen, I made a post on the forums a few weeks ago about kind of staking in general. Yeah, welcome to the Raphael hour. A post about staking in general for ZKsync, kind of to put a feeler out there and see what people's thoughts are around ZKsync staking's roadmap, what it might look like, what delegates and other stakeholders in the community are interested in and how they're thinking about it. And encourage you to read that thread. It's a pretty general discussion. We got some feedback from some of the delegates for ZKsync, and my takeaway from that thread is that there's interest in some form of staking. There's maybe not 100% consensus around what the roadmap should look like. There is a lot of consensus around the long-term staking roadmap of using staking for decentralizing provers. But it sounds like there's a lot of, Matter Labs is working on a version of that that they've mentioned in Medium posts and on Twitter. But I think there's my proposal is maybe there's an opportunity to build a kind of staking bridge from where we are today in January and whenever the decentralized prover staking roadmap is ready. And it, I think, would be good to give more things for the ZK token to do. And I think also important, I guess I'm now getting into my presentation. So that's the frame. And I wanted to present some slides because they'll have something visual to look at. And that's the end. So we'll go backward. So what I should have introduced myself as well. I'm Raf, the CTO at Tally, and we have helped a few different Tally projects figure out staking. So I wanted to kind of make a pitch to the ZK Token Association and all the members and participants in governance of a kind of high-level frame for how staking could work. And there's lots of details to figure out, but this is the beginnings of a proposal. I'm going to present it here on the call, and I'll make a forum post about it as well for a potential staking program for ZKsync. And so the idea here is we want to be able to have something soon. I think one of the core values of this program is that it's ready to go, and it can give give some utility to the token in the short term. We'll also learn a bunch about how staking works and how people treat staking in the short term, and set us up for success in the future whenever the decentralized prover roadmap is ready. And we've got a link to a generalized staking contract that Tally has built and used in a few other places. This is a good time. Do you need to stop for questions? I see Rafa has a hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I want to bring up two things of why I'm kind of like, well, maybe three things. I'm excited about the proposal. Well, RAF is called RAF, same as me, so you know, obviously automatic support. But so there's a couple of things that I think are important to note. A while back, I had a good conversation with Dennison and you know and the Tally team, and we were talking about the fact that right now, everybody who owns ZK needs to make a decision between if they participate in governance or they get returns for the ZK by participating in DeFi or other types of activities. I think what I would like to see, and you know, this is part of the feedback, I guess, Raf, that I have is how do we not have to make that decision, and how do we not have to choose between those in the future? So even right now with the staking, we solve it feels like we solve one short-term problem, which is people who want to participate in governance as a primary activity with the token can get yield. But it doesn't solve the problem of having to choose between putting your token to work in the ecosystem versus participating in governance. So I think kind of like V1, this makes sense as an experiment. I think V2, you know, we shouldn't have to sacrifice between staking to secure the protocol, staking to provide liquidity to the ecosystem, and participating in governance for both of them. So I think that, yeah, just voicing that out loud, which is, you know, no compromises. Like we should be able to innovate our way out of having to make these binary choices and be able to get the best of all the different token functionalities that are becoming the standard in the ecosystem.
Definitely. Aligned there. And just to repeat what you said, again, so that everyone hears, one of the really important things that I've seen that I see in ZKsync and I see in other projects that are also considering different forms of staking and have governance is that it's really important you don't set up a situation where you're, you know, Rafa just said this, but you don't want your token owners to choose between yield and governance, because a lot of them will choose yield and it will undermine governance. So it's definitely possible to have it all. It does require a little bit more integration work. Like we have to, in whatever contracts we build for staking, in whatever kinds of staking are on the roadmap, we have a few different ways to make sure that they are compatible with governance. And that's, I think, a little bit out of scope of the V 1.0 program that I've written up here, but is a long-term goal. It's certainly a goal of this program, this 1.0 proposal, and it's, I think, should be a long-term goal of other forms of token utility, whether it's staking or providing liquidity. And I think we can, like as part of this discussion, you know, if the association and the assembly and all the stakeholders agree that that's an important thing, you know, having it all, then I think that is a very valuable thing that could come out of this topic. Is if we agree, like, okay, we want to have it all, we want our future token utility to be compatible with governance, then, you know, let's decide that now, and we can reach out to the teams doing the R&D for these different programs and make sure they have a path to integrating with governance.
Yeah, and maybe Raf, as part of this proposal, maybe something that would be really cool, and just thinking out loud here is, you know, what it would look like to maybe have a portion of the budget for this proposal to basically integrate this program, but another part to potentially put out a prize for the, you know, for a team that does present the have it all solution in a secure fashion. So something to think about, not saying that we should do it, because on the other hand, we should keep all proposals simple and direct, but maybe something to think about in terms of, you know, it's in the same flavor. Maybe we launch this staking program and there's a prize that comes with it.
Yeah, definitely. We can certainly include that in the proposal, and the delegates and other decision makers can discuss whether it's an omnibus proposal, whether we want to split it out, whether we like that idea. But I will take a note and include it in the follow-up discussion. So I think we talked about why just now. Thanks, Rafa. You know, one, we want to have long-term alignment between protocol and token holders. give people something to do with their tokens, and of course also support governance. We don't want people to have to choose. And I think the v1.0 proposal that I'll outline for you here, really the goal is test things out, so we can deploy off-the-shelf, pretty standard staking contracts, make staking happen over a short duration. Maybe there's a 2-month season that's small, and we could have a larger season that's not limited, that doesn't cap deposits. Maybe that's 4 months. I'm kind of assuming that it's about 6 months until the decentralized prover tech is ready. But we can adjust these timelines based on when the future versions of the future applications of staking go live. And the timeline that I talked about for moving quickly is try to get something going in the next 4 or 6 weeks. We can do some discussion on the forums and potentially in working groups to figure out the parameters of a staking program, get some alignment on whether this is actually something that ZKsync should do or not, and then do an on-chain proposal to start things. Start season 1.
Omar, just raising that, something I'm thinking about here is, what other data do we have internally that might be able to support kind of like choosing some of these parameters? So I don't know, we should maybe talk to the Ignite team, like Merkle and OBL about it. Anyways, just making a note that.
Yeah, since the first 2 weeks got done, OBL should be building.
Yeah.
So we should be able to take a look at some data.
Yeah, Rav, I'm going to make a note, an action point to try to get you a link, because there's some public dashboards from OBL around some of the yield analysis that could help inform the parameter decision from your side.
Awesome. Is this, you also mentioned the Ignite program?
Yeah.
This is the data from that. Basically, we're seeing ZK move out of governance because it wants to move into the Ignite program, and once you're in the Ignite program, at least today, you cannot also participate in governance. That's what you're getting at.
We've seen a total net outflows of like 200 million ZK tokens. I don't know if we've hit 200 million yet, but we definitely hit it. So I guess the question is like, again, that we want so it's not like, I'm not too worried about the outflows as long as governance is like, has the talent density and the density of attention that we need. The rest of ZK should all be put to work. All ZK should be put to work. But we'll send you the data and we can take a look at that.
Perfect. Yeah, I would love to read it, and of course I'll include it too in the letter proposal. Michael Nash, it sounds like you're unmuted. Tempe Tech?
Yeah, I have a question. What I'm missing from this discussion on the forum is like, how does this thing work? Like I understand that you understand it well, and maybe that's why it's missing from the topic or from the text. But like, what's the desired outcome for the governance? Understand that people stake tokens, they get yield, but that shouldn't be the main priority here. Like, does this benefit delegates? Like, do delegates get more votes? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, great question. I think first I'm going to answer then the answer. So the forum post from a few weeks ago was pretty light on the details because it wasn't a proposal yet. It was just a kind of a toe in the water. Well, I wanted to start the discussion, see who was interested, see what the parameters of the proposal and discussion should be. Like what basically try to answer the questions you're getting at. What are the goals of the program? What should it do? So I'll provide. I'm putting together a more fleshed out proposal, the beginnings of a proposal that I'll post on the forums this week. And that will share more detail about what the goals of this program are and how it works in detail, like down to the implementation details. But to go back to the I think the why, which is one of the things you're asking, what does this do besides create a reward source? I think it does a couple things. One, really it's an experiment, right? We're trying to learn what the kind of demand is for yield, and we're trying to learn, when we offer yield, in this case, it's yield without much risk, right? You're not like staking on a prover that has to provide uptime, and you're risking funds if they don't do their job. So really, we're kind of learning the elasticity of staking, and we are putting a flag in the ground saying we want to have it all. We want staking, any future staking programs to be compatible with governance. And I think we're also signaling to token holders and generally the market that there will be stuff to do with the ZK token. There's this to do now, there'll be more stuff to do in the future. And there's a lot of utility we could add to staking program, but I guess I would suggest to move quickly is we keep it simple. We don't add a ton of utility at the beginning, and then we layer it on over time as we prove out that there's actually demand for staking from token holders, and that we get consensus in the community and from stakeholders that we want staking and governance to be compatible. Okay, we've got a time check. Thanks for your time. I will, if you have further questions, let's talk about it in the forums or reach out to me on directly on Telegram if you have particular questions. And I appreciate all your time today, and sorry for going a little bit over. Thanks.
No worries. Thank you, Raf, for presenting that today. Yeah, okay, so moving on to just the next name on the list. We have the Catalyst proposal. I believe you folks also have a presentation, so I will stop sharing my screen again and hand the mic over.
A good couple of slides, I guess. But yeah, I always fall in love with the tele slide design, I must say. So expect less from this one. But cool, yeah, thanks for having us. We just wanted to take the chance on the back of Nick's last forum post that basically is describing our initial thinking about the DPP that we've been working on now for some while. I think many of you of the call we annoyed already with some iterations on this, so thanks for this up front. I think it has been a super fun process so far, jumping the one or other hoop, rethinking really how to approach a TPP. And yeah, now really just excited to guide through on a high level in this short slide deck. We will post a full super meaty proposal sometime this week after this call. So obviously appreciate any set of eyeballs on this, and DMs are always open for further feedback. With that, and quick hi and intro. Yeah, we are Areta. One part of the proposal, we basically work in similar fashion for our DeFi DAO, so working on some larger capital allocation initiatives, a team of 15 people around the world, and other DAOs work for Uniswap, Safe Aave, and some others. And the second part of the collaborative effort is Nick and Matt on this call. Maybe Nick, you quickly also want to say hi. I know many people know you on this call.
Yeah, just quick intro from me. So my name's Nick. I'm the CEO of Factory Labs. We've been building token economics and DAO infrastructure for a few years now. And yeah, we're part of this proposal as kind of like the technical service providers. So we're going to be building the actual technical infrastructure around how we do the capital allocation and governance designs and mechanism design as we run through, which I'll dive into a little bit deeper detail when it gets to it.
Awesome, thanks a lot. Happy to jump to it. Basically, what we ask ourselves are how can we build on the second key driver that we now see to grow users on the Elastic chain. One big topic is obviously building up liquidity. That's been covered by the Ignite proposal as kind of kickstarting the ecosystem, making it usable. A second element that we see a lot of value in is now developing an app ecosystem obviously you want to attract users, but even more so to make them stick. There's a lot of things, involved in that, obviously, right? Like the quality of apps, amount of apps, UX, and so on. But this is kind of the high-level thinking. How we see this unfold now is basically with the Catalyst proposal. The TLDR here, just to show it to you once, is basically an effort to allocate up to 150 million ZK tokens with a focus on consumer flagship applications via two mechanisms. So one is we will allocate direct rewards that can be unlocked. There will be a VC fund matching component that is basically an effort to bring VC funds closer to the ZK ecosystem and reward apps that have already raised from a top-tier consumer VC. And then the second bigger element is setting up key distribution channels. So also, addressing another app founder problem that is really, how do I get more users to my app if just launched? Obviously, a lot to unpack here. Diving into some more detail on what the elements are, right? So the first one, as mentioned, is merely capital. What we want to do here is not just give out capital for the sake of an app building on the ZK ecosystem, but really in a manner that is one, a pull mechanism. So we plug in apps into an smart contract system, determine a KPI that is verifiable on-chain, and with achievement on that KPI that is predetermined, apps can unlock funds. So it's less a proactive kind of funding, but more a reactive pulling only if there's performance achieved. Second bigger element is the distribution. Already talked through a bit. What we really want to do is establish some elements that we can support app founders with in terms of getting more eyeballs to their apps. One part can be very manual at times, awareness activities, so really creating buzz around the program on all different kind of social channels. Another element is also providing, infrastructure, so to say, to showcase those apps and participants in the program. So one will be a website with a dashboard, similar to Ignite, where people can see the performance of apps that are participating. But then also we want to work together with the larger ZKsync ecosystem for wherever we find a place to showcase the apps and use cases. The third part here, full stop here, Omar.
No, sorry, I'll wait till you're done.
I mean, feel free to jump in. Maybe the last one on this page is attracting more apps, and this is then really looking at it from the other sides, and we'll shine some more light on this a bit later. But basically, what we want to do here is enable ZK chains to be in the driver's seat of this program. They will get basically control or certain control of rewards to be allocated to apps. What we want to do here is also enable the chains to use it as a BD element. So to think through actively, okay, how can we attract more apps with being equipped with a certain amount of capital that can be used for rewards. Omar, not sure if now's a good chance.
Yeah, just real quick. So fully supportive of like testing out different types of incentive programs. Obviously, incentive programs in the past in other areas kind of haven't really resulted in long-term success and growth. So we do have to keep in mind like how we're doing the application submission process, selection of the applications, but then also more importantly, a big part of the success for any of these types of programs is going to be on the marketing impact it has and the mind share it's able to generate, not just for the applicant, but also for ZKsync in general. So one thing to also keep in mind, potentially add in here, and any other like incentive type programs, is that there should be some sort of expectation of the chains that are getting these incentives, that they have some sort of guideline that they follow in terms of
hyping up ZKsync or co-marketing ZKsync. I think one basic thing could be like, hey, you have to have powered by ZKsync somewhere on your homepage, right? Or that you also have to, do some level of co-marketing, talking about ZKsync, or like, hey, yeah, ZKsync is doing this program, etc., and it's awesome. We can probably come up with some sort of standard guidelines that are at a high level, and the requirements that kind of are not just for this program, but any sort of incentive program. And maybe that's something like Megan, the Maryland CMO, can potentially write up. The other thing is also that each of these programs should probably also allocate some sort of additional budget. So I don't know what that would look like, but that essentially hires a given media company who's responsible for figuring out like the marketing strategy and getting the word out. I know there are certain teams like Blockworks, for example, seem to have very good mind share in the cryptoverse, and they seem to be really going up in the overall rankings, I think. But yeah, like partnering with the key strategic marketing partner for each of these proposals is also pretty important, because at the end of the day, like, I think a good chunk of the ROI is really just going to come down to, does this help ZKsync gain mind share?
Do you
100%.
guys have a marketing agency already selected as your partner?
We haven't selected one. We have allocated a fair amount of budget though for the selection process. So how we see it basically being split, and thanks for the comment, I think goes along the lines that we're thinking about it. There's some element that just grinding on the ground and like doing awareness posts and chasing people to repost and preparing posts and so on, that we will likely do ourselves because we know how the hand-holding takes place. And then the more professional part of, okay, how can we run, a big campaign? How can we place it in PR in the right outlets and so on? We have allocated a certain budget for the right partner. Could be a Blockworks, could be a High Partners. There's certain, couple names around that we will look at then. Awesome. With that, jumping to the next slide, on just a bit of light, and then also promise to be a bit faster looking at the time, and want to give some space for Raf from the StableLab team. Participant journey. Two things just to mention it quickly. We want to have ZKchain and ZKchains in the driver's seat, so they will ultimately apply for a token allocation, and they will apply with a strategy on how to spend the token. So they will say, okay, we have these 3 apps that we want to nominate. App 1 should be measured with this KPI, and this should be the level, and this is the amount that we're asking for, and App 2, App 3, and so on. And then there will be a steering committee that's a mix of consumer VCs, research, risk, growth people that will then work together with the ZKchains to ultimately decide on what these amounts should be. The apps then on the other side are the ultimate recipients. So they will be nominated by the chains and will be plugged into the system. Last one, maybe quickly, Nick, if you want to shine light. I know that's exciting for many people who are excited about TPPs as a mechanism. Maybe quick run through, and then I think we can leave the floor. And thanks for your time and attention.
Yeah, super quick. So we're coming in as sort of technical providers to build some of this infrastructure that leads us towards a more automated system over time. There's sort of 3 core components of this. There's this automation piece, which is principally data driven. So we're going to have the wonder of Web3 apps is that we have this really public on-chain data that can be quite technical at the sort of state transition level. Our goal is to bring that into what we're calling a sort of ZK data commons. So we want to create a set of kind of API endpoints, which essentially give you a live view of how these apps are performing across the chain. So we're going to individually look at the participating contracts that are in the applications, create a data lake, if you like, which allows us to bring some of that data on chain, which will then automate the payouts. So we're going to be leveraging the V2 of the Capped Minter framework. some contracts we've been developing for a while that allow us to do staged distributions that will be triggered by these on-chain events with an interaction with these expert groups. So we'll have an expert steerco, which will have this kind of some vetoing capabilities, but also the ability to sort of steer the KPIs as they need to be modified over time. And then we'll have another group or a parallel strategy, which allows us to do a kind of VC matching fund with this. Importantly, those of you who read the kind of cybernetic framework thing that we've been trying to push, which is this is an iterative process. So our goal isn't to just kind of fix these KPIs, they remain locked whether they're working or not, and they just progress over time. The idea is that we have these like iterative waves throughout the process, which reflects on how effective this is being over time and dials it in over time through a kind of steer-based governance process. So really what we're trying to do is to build a system which brings out the richness of the data from across the ecosystem, puts that into a central place where it can be used for things like on-chain payouts, and have that integrate with a governance system which allows this program to both become progressively automated over time, but also steers the process to iterate it towards effective spend. So really what we're looking for is a really efficient process of taking tokens from the ZK assembly and getting it to the apps, and doing that in a way that reduces the complexity and control that this group has over time. So progressively taking the humans out of the loop.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. I am really sorry, but we have to move on just to make sure we have enough time for the last presentation here. Thanks for the great presentation. Excited to see the meaty proposal. That's to come soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll invite, I actually don't know which one of you will be
I'll take that.
Perfect. Then I'll let you take over, Ralph.
Yeah, so I'll close this out very quickly. We have something exciting in the pipeline under development. And so this is like some alpha here. Basically, we're designing a blockchain demand boost program. Our basic assumption is very simple. We have blockchains. We view blockchains basically like an e-commerce business that is selling block space. And so we thought, why should we have an opinion on what is the best way to consume block space? Why don't we let the market figure that out? And this is exactly what our program is about. And it's basically a competition. So it's gamifying the incentives. It has 12 monthly competitions. And each monthly competition has 3 rounds, 1 week each, where apps compete to consume the most block space. And then the winner gets progressively larger rewards as the program progresses. And in the beginning, this will be measured very simply by simply like how much gas usage that is. But then later on, we can introduce weights for specific types of transactions. For instance, cross-chain, or some that use specific features of account abstraction. So we can really accompany the roadmap of development for the Elastic chain. We will start out in Era, but then branch out to other chains if the program is successful and we get the right participants. The measurements are very algorithmic. There's a clear formula that determines who is the winner, and we expect a lot of community engagement and people rooting for the champions, sharing it on socials, and maybe also even buying tokens. Yeah, and the whole thing has a very degen vibe to it. It's not very serious. It's not very professional. We want tinkerers, builders, people who really test novel ways to consume block space in an ethical and sustainable way. Here's a short overview of the structure. As we can see, we have the month from left to right, and every month has 3 weeks with competition, and then a retro at the end of the month. And the retro is where the scoring criteria for the month after the next are defined. And this is how the program continuously adapts to the development of Elastic Chain and can really go alongside major developments in this ecosystem. As I said, 12 months long, increasing rewards week by week, in a month, and then from month to month, so that when the program picks up steam and we see more interesting participants come in, or participants that develop their apps further, then the rewards get bigger. It will be accompanied by a marketing agency. So far, we have been looking at Hype and 40IQ. There are a couple of others that I think are good. We have yet to talk to some. I think it's a great idea to maybe pool resources there, because it seems that this will be a common push across or like incentive programs. And so it might be really good to have like one partner that has like one tone of voice. So this has some consistency, which I think is well rewarded in the market. And at the moment, we're looking for a technical lead. So we are looking for a builder or somebody with some degen chops to help us lead the technical aspects of how this is going to be developed, and of how we are looking at what constitutes ethical blockchain use. If you have any ideas we've reached out to a couple of individuals. We have some who have responded. If you have any more suggestions, then please feel free to DM me or make an introduction. Very welcome. And we are planning to publish this before ETH Denver, so that's the 23rd of February. It's quite an aggressive timeline, but we are also quite far in the development of the proposal, thanks to Shelby and Rafa, of course. Yes, Omar?
Is this proposal on the forums yet?
It is not yet on the forum.
Okay.
There's one proposal. There's just like the technical leads request for applications on the forum. I'd be happy to share it with you and discuss.
I just dropped it in the chat too, Omar, if you want to take a look.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Because finding a technical lead is pretty important for this one, because you need someone that has that understands like the degen like UX and user flows, but then can also actually deliver on a very high quality dashboard, because something like this could morph into something bigger, like potentially like a ZK 100, right? Where you have like the top 100 builders and all that, and kind of becomes like the time 100 or something. So there's core infra that can potentially be built out as a output of this program, and also other programs too, right? As we identify key applicants and builders, there should be some way to like aggregate them all up into something.
And one additional comment. So Nick, the thinking about the data commons from your side would be good to start thinking about, like, if we think about the first way that we can potentially extend the data commons out into other programs, it feels like this is an example of where the block demand team should be pulling from the same transaction evaluation analysis that you guys are doing, and shouldn't have to reinvent that infrastructure, right? So just something to think about, Bernard, Nick, about opportunity, again, another opportunity for you guys who built in the infrastructure. That means we can compound the value by feeding into this. It might be different infra, but at the very least, even the definition of the metric, huge opportunity to create a common standard of what is a transaction.
And also Stable Lab has a data analytics team that is basically focused on these kind of analytics. So we're very happy to pitch in with developments, talent and expertise here. So wide open to any collaboration here, which makes perfect sense, just to save resources where it's best for the community. Yeah, and that leads to the end of my presentation. Let's go. I tried to get Bing to create a Zeke, but it was just a yellow cat.
We love the imagery coming from this proposal development. It's so fun. Thank you, Raphael, for sharing. I did see Cap's hand up. I don't know if Cap, you had a quick...
Cap, yeah, you had a hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you have an estimate when will the full proposal be live on the forum?
because I'm eager to read it. As you know, I sent you a message. So yeah, just
Sorry,
curious.
happy to share with you. I think you replied to the RFA anyway, so I think we should talk. And yeah, then maybe we can set up a call this week if you are open.
Let's go with next week, please. But yeah, let's do DMs first, please.
Okay, good.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who joined today and also presented today. This is yeah, I mean it's all of these calls, everything's very new. It's all kind of an experiment. So we can also adjust them as needed over time. I did just want to make one like disclaimer or call something out quickly too. So these standing calls are a great time and place to like plan to kind of hear updates about active or developing proposals, but this does not have to be the only place for these discussions. For proposal authors who maybe want some more time to dive a bit deeper into different aspects of proposals, especially once you've like the folks who just presented at the end, once your full proposals hit the forum, it might make sense for you to schedule your own hour-long call to discuss those details. Please feel free to do that. Let me know, and I can add it to the delegate calendar. So folks and you know, do some announcements on it as well. But yeah, we just wanted to have this standing call in place so that we could at least have like introduction, updates on existing proposals, and maybe just some like brief overviews to proposals that are new or developing on the forum as well. So yeah, I will call it there. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll try to get the recording links and any relevant notes up on the forum by tomorrow, as always. Bye, guys.